This digital water pavilion at the 2008 World Expo was hailed by Time magazine as one of the best inventions of the year. It has been included in Skip magazine's best and brightest list, in Blueprint magazine's 25 people who will change the world of design, and in Forbes magazine's people you need to know in 2011. Join me in welcoming Carlo Ratti.
Thanks a lot. Great to be here. You know, you said people need to know in 2011, so now 2016 you can forget about this. So, I want to share with you just a couple of projects we've done this year. We had the opportunity to work for the World Expo. But before that, I want to share a little bit of the philosophy in what we are trying to do. So if you look at this picture, that's a picture that people used to be fascinated in the 1990s. If you look at this, it talks about virtual reality. It talks about how digital is making our world increasingly virtual. And so much so that at that time, in the 1990s, many people thought that actually physical space would be less and less important. That's Gilder in 1995. In 1995 is the beginning of the widespread digital revolution. That's the year Nicolas Negroponte wrote Being Digital. So Gilder said we are headed for a death of cities. Cities are leftover baggage from the industrial time. Well, what does this tell you? The first thing it tells you is, never make predictions, because no prediction could have been more wrong. We know the cities have been thriving. That's a picture from Tianjin in China. China this century probably will build more urban fabric than all of humanity ever built. We know that since 2008, half of the world's population lives in cities, and this number could actually swell to 5 billion to 2030. So what has happened is that digital hasn't really killed physical space, but actually digital and physical are kind of recombined in creating a new hybrid dimension. It's about bits and atoms coming together. It's about IoT, Internet of Things, combining with architecture, and in creating a new dimension with us in the middle. Almost as if every atom out there were becoming both a sensor and an actuator. Now, having said that, I want to share with you just a couple of projects we did this year, I decided not to focus too much on the architecture we are doing, but on some experiments we've been running. We were fortunate enough to do 2 pavilions at the World Expo. One pavilion was called the Future Food District, and there we were given those 2 shoe boxes. So we didn't design the boxes, but they told us you can fit anything you want inside, anything you want outside. And inside, in one of the 2 boxes, we got to work with Coop, one of the biggest supermarket chains in Italy. And so they told us, as you know, the World Expo in Milan was about food and products. So they told us, what about, how could this change in tomorrow's supermarkets? How could the supermarket change? Now, we love this picture by Andreas Gursky, but certainly we did not want to do this. That's an alienating picture of how you could imagine a supermarket. What we wanted to do was think about how products can actually tell us their stories. If you take a product today, if you take like a bottle of wine, today you know everything about it. You know the bottle of wine, where it's coming from, how it moved, where it was produced, when it was bottled, until when it went to your desk. But that information usually you don't find when you're in the supermarket. So the idea was, can we actually tell the stories of products? And many people try to do this. If you look at this, it's actually Tesco in Seoul, but that was a total failure. The idea was, that you take your phone and scan things. It's alienating. You don't talk to other people. You just look at products. So what we wanted to do was say, well, can we use technology to really do something that looks a bit more like this? And that's a painting by an Italian painter called Guttuso, and it shows you a market, so where you get the richness of interaction between people and products, and also people and people through products. What we liked was this quote by Italo Calvino. You might be familiar with Italo Calvino's Palomar. Mr. Palomar is this kind of weird guy who does different things, and one day Mr. Palomar goes to Paris. And he goes to Paris and goes to a fromagerie, to a cheese shop. And Calvino says, you say in Italian, he says, then the guy thinks he's at the Louvre. He thinks that, every piece of cheese is telling him the story of a different pasture under a different sun. So how all these stories about the products actually become alive. So that's what we were trying to do. How we try to do it, we created a table. We said, you know, table is a beautiful interface that humans have been using for thousands of years. It's very collaborative. So we said we put products on the tables, and then on the top of the table we put a bunch of Kinects. You're probably familiar with the Kinect. It's a sensor that the Xbox by Microsoft developed that actually detects how you're moving your hands, your body, and so on. So how you're engaging with something. And then the idea was that as you approach something and you touch an apple or point to an apple, then the Kinect will detect it, and then the information will magically come to you in a very seamless way. And so the idea that basically all these stories about product would appear. Here is a section of the supermarket. It was a 70,000 square foot building. We decided also to do it sloping, so that you will see all the products in one go. When you enter, you will see all of them, and then as you approach all of these different tables, you will get very easily the first layer is actually information about the products themselves that you're engaging with. In the second layer is actually information overall in the supermarket, how many people are connecting with those products. So it tells you a more aggregated view of what is happening over there. Very briefly, we also use robots because we wanted to play with collaborative robots as well, in the fact that if you use things on tables, you put less stuff per square foot. So we wanted to automate the reshelving so that you could actually get the same density of products per square foot or per square meter. And you're playing with data as well. Well, this is the built thing. We are very happy. Several million people went through it, and all the people really loved it. Kids, they would actually run to the thing, and as they move their hands next to the product, you will have all this information that almost opens up like an accordion. As you're pointing to different things, and you see here the people playing with it. Here's a little video with was an experiment for us, and we think actually the beauty of working for the expos we did before a few times for the expo for the Olympics is that you can really try something, and then that's like a collective experiment. It's like open sourcing architecture, because you try something and then you got a response by tens or thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of people who will see it, and actually you will in some way involve that feedback in the next iteration of design. And we were quite happy here. We got a few prizes, and now just the expo closed just a couple of months ago, but a few companies, a few supermarket chains around the world and others are trying to take this technology and bring it to life in the real world. Now, let me tell you the end of the story about the expo. Well, I told you that we were given carte blanche inside and outside, but we were given this kind of shoebox. The shoebox was built. So they told us, well, you can do another facade on the outside. But we didn't really want to do another facade. It's like a little bit of a waste of money. The facade was there. So we said, well, instead of doing something fake, we thought that you could do it, yes, of course, you can do another facade outside, but it's a little bit like lipstick on a pig. It's like, just trying to beautify something, which is, this kind of industrial-looking shoebox. So we said, okay, let's keep it like that. As a shoebox, but let's change the appearance of it. And of course, one way to do it is to use, again, information. And we're very familiar with the way we've been doing it. Think about Times Square. It means you put a lot of LED screens. But again, LED screens are expensive, and LED screens use a lot of energy, and I think they're dull. They're boring. So we said, why don't we do something else with information? So we decided to design a robotic arm, which is what you see here. And basically this robotic arm can spray paint and turn this into almost like a giant plotter. So what you can do there, you can turn the facade into a canvas where you can write anything you want. Coke wanted us, it's been really fun and exciting working with Coke, and Coke wanted us, their kind of roots are very cooperative, are about people coming together to create a supermarket. So their idea is, they want us to show people on the outside. And we said, okay, we're going to do it, but let's not just show people. Let's get people and what people buy. So basically, if you go to the supermarket, if you wanted to participate in the game, you could actually get your picture out there. But actually be your picture classified based on what you buy. So you see the picture of somebody who buys a lot of organic stuff, somebody who's really vegetarian, somebody who buys a lot of fat and sugar. So you will see that based on the things that you buy. And then on the outside, the plotter will start plotting. So then we start painting on the facade and keep on constantly painting. That was the first test we did. This ended up being the biggest plotter ever made. And here you see the facade at the end, the built facade, how it appears. You find a lot of pictures and videos that went kind of viral on the internet, and you find them online. The second project we had the opportunity to work on was a competition for New Holland. New Holland is one of the top 2 producers of farming equipment in the world. It's by John Deere in New Holland. And here we started from this idea. If you look at this, that's a self-driving car. And a self-driving car has 2 little ears. You see them on the side. And the 2 little ears basically do a 3-dimensional scan of the city that allow the car to navigate the city. It's almost like human eyes. It looks 360 degrees and then allows the car to navigate by itself. Now, it's a different story. We're doing a lot of work on self-driving cars. We'll be working with Uber on Uber Pool. I can tell you that story another time or in later. But here we started from this and said, what if actually we could apply self-driving to a tractor? Then that becomes quite exciting. And the reason it becomes quite exciting, and that's one of the sketches with which we won the pavilion, is that you can think about the tractor, you know where it is, and it becomes again like a printer at the landscape scale. So you can actually put different seeds in different places, and then you can go and actually take care of them and harvest them. And what you're doing effectively is that you're moving from monoculture to something much more sophisticated. As you might know, monoculture is not really efficient. Nature doesn't work by monoculture. Monoculture is what we had to do in the 20th century because we couldn't do better. We can only do the same thing a zillion times. But if you think about a system where you can actually control very fine-grained the system that puts down the seeds, the tractor, then you can go from monoculture to something much more sophisticated. And I'll show you now an experiment that was done by Benedict Gross. Benedict was in our group in the United States and then did this as his thesis at the Royal College of Art in London. He said, let's imagine we have a piece of land, and let's imagine we have 2 different types of crops, like you see here. And what would nature do? Well, let's imagine. We can do more sophisticated things, but imagine that nature will do something with, which is based on cells. That's what we often find in nature. It's not monoculture, it's actually just mixing in this kind of way. And then, then you can put everything together and you can start thinking about how this could be done. The tractor knows exactly every seed it puts in every place. And here is the results of the experiment, like printing on a giant agricultural scale. You get the sense that here you see exactly the same thing that you had on the screen, but it becomes like a giant printed piece of agriculture. You think about how this in the future could change the way we actually farm and the way we produce and do things. And the final thing I want to share with you is actually, I decided to show you more experimental projects, but I'll take this from what we did at the Venice Biennale last year. As you might know, Brent Poulas was in charge of the Venice Biennale, and last year he asked us to do a project there. In this project we started from a little experiment that I'll show you here. That experiment started with a scientific paper we did at MIT. And what we did, we actually looked at where energy is consumed in buildings and where people are. Now we can know today where people are. Each of you has actually in their pockets a something that emits a signal. So if you take data from a laptop or cell phone, you can actually know where people are moving in a space. We did an experiment at the Louvre Museum by mapping people as they move inside the space. So you can do that today, and then you also know where energy goes. And if you look at the combination of the two, what you see is that there's no correlation whatsoever. So what you see today is that actually we put energy in our buildings during the night, when say our office buildings are empty. We put a lot of energy in our buildings, in our homes during the day, when we are at work, and homes are empty. So we're wasting a lot of energy just because we are heating empty stuff. Think about, this space today is very full, but this space is probably going to be heated all weekend, just when nobody's here. So we said, what if we were to think about something else, and actually not heating bricks, but actually heating people? And we call this local warming. So can we actually localize warming on people? With the first experiment in Boston at MIT is a research project. What you see here is the entrance of MIT, it's 77 Massachusetts Avenue, and we had this kind of rays that would create a bubble of heat around people. So we installed it. Some people freaked out. Imagine this kind of ray, bubble of heat that follows you as you go in. Most people loved it. And that's what led us to actually develop the Biennale installation that would do exactly the same thing with this bubble that would follow people underneath. The little video is the making of the Venice Biennale last year. Of course, we want to make it very visible, so we did this in a way that it would be very, very present in the space. But you can imagine the same thing in the future. It could become much less visible. It could become this kind of supplementing heating or cooling in a space by actually following people. And we're quite happy about two things. The first thing is that ARPA-E is a big agency in the United States that takes innovative projects in energy and turns them into commercial projects. Well, just a few months ago, they put around $30 million into doing something like this, where they were inspired by our work, by work at Princeton and so on, in taking something like this and turning it into something that you could apply in buildings. And also with our design office now, we are involved in a few projects where we're doing the same, not at the level, of course you can do it at the resolution of the individual, but you can look at this at a bigger scale. Think about room by room or floor plate by floor plate, and we're doing a new skyscraper in Singapore. That's an office building where we're implementing this. We're doing this in Italy in a very nice project called Casa Agnelli. It's called the Agnelli Foundation Will Go Back. It was the house that was owned by the Agnelli, Giovanni Agnelli, the founder of Fiat, and we go back to the Agnelli Foundation, and there we're actually having this system whereby as people move inside the building, then heating, cooling, and lighting respond in a dynamic way. It's almost like your computer, when you're not using it, that goes on standby. Can your building also go on standby when nobody is there? Of course, the same thing you can do also with cooling. One of the shadows there is Sheikh Mohammed in Dubai. That was a few months ago. And basically the idea that you can use spraying to cool the air, but again you can follow people around, so you can, for Italians, it's a little bit like a Fantozzi's cloud that basically follows you as you're moving there and creates this kind of cool space around yourself. Or this is a project we're doing in Barcelona. We're doing this little square in Barcelona where it's next to it's in this part of Barcelona where all the technology companies are being located, called 22 Arrobas 22. And what we're doing there, in the building, in the old building, people is a new headquarters for Cisco and for a bunch of technology companies, and we want to say, can people go outside and, still take your laptop and go outside? Can we actually open our office spaces to the outdoor? As humans, we've been living outdoors for thousands of years. Can we go back to some of them? And if you want to do that, with a laptop, one of the important things is that you need to have a way to control lighting levels. And, otherwise you got too much light, you can't do anything outside, or it's too hot and too much sun. So what we decided to do was, imagine you have this kind of canopy. The canopy has many mirrors, and the mirrors, each mirror has a little Arduino and a little motor, so you can control it and track the sun, and you can decide how much light you want underneath. So that was kind of the initial concept. And then, if you can protect the sun underneath, you can see with the rest of the sun what to do, and of course you can concentrate here, and then you can produce energy with photovoltaics. You can also, during the night, you've got the moon, so you can actually concentrate the rays of the moon up there. It's like a second moon floating above Barcelona. You can also put like a big projector here at the top, and then in that case the mirrors do something else. The mirrors distribute the light underneath of the square, so it becomes something that not only concentrates during the day, but during the night distributes the light. And something that they really liked in Barcelona was this, which is basically on the other side of the concentrator where you got the photovoltaics, you got the mirror. If you put the mirror, you concentrate all the rays, and then you can actually cook with sunlight. So the idea was to make porchetta, which is called cochinillo. In Spanish, you see there, being roasted just with the sun, with this concentrated sun. This is a project we finished last year. No, we don't know exactly when it will be implemented. Barcelona is going through some changes, political changes, but this is the element for the square, and then you see here the thing at the top, and how one side actually collects the energy, generates energy with photovoltaics. The other side you concentrate, and then you can use it for all the different things I was mentioning. And just to finalize your work in these days, also a lot with algae and how we can use biology in architecture, how we can mix digital and biological system. This was at the Milan Design Week last year, where we actually tried to see how, again, we can use a dynamic, responsive system that at the same time accumulates, generates energy, in this case, through a natural system, which is algae. And some of our latest research projects and also design projects try to merge the two. It's about, cyber-physical system, yes, but also cyber-physical system means also including the human side or the biological side. And I'll stop here. Thank you. I can be a little bit shorter. I can be like 5 to 10 minutes short, because I thought, if there's any comments or idea or challenges that you would like to say, feel free to raise your hands. Yes.
You don't talk about mobility. I mean, you cited autopilot cars. I was wondering if mobility, with the Sensible City Lab, you're working a lot on smart mobility and smart crossing, the urban mobility, and if mobility is the starting point to make cities more sustainable, so we can make city a better place, smarter and more sustainable, starting from making cars smarter.
Totally. Then I will use a couple of slides here about mobility. Absolutely. So what you see here, mobility is great. We're doing a lot of work on mobility. One of the things is called the Copenhagen wheel, where we're doing we did a startup that's producing the Copenhagen wheel. That's part of. It's about cycling and cycling. A system that turns every bicycle into an e-bike, into an electric bicycle, and allows you to monitor your patterns and so on. So that's one thing we're doing. The other thing I want to share with you is about vehicular mobility, which is radically changing. So if we can do a bet tonight in this room that in 10 years, remember what I said at the beginning, never predict the future, but I can do a bet that in 10 years, mobility in cities would be very different. Let me show you some examples. What you see here is a project we did in New York with data that was made available by Mayor Bloomberg. And what you see here, every dot, a yellow dot is a taxi pickup and a blue dot is a taxi drop-off. Now what you see here is a JFK airport. You zoom out and you see all of Manhattan, the boroughs and so on. And then you can ask yourself, how many trips could be shared? Now, I'm cutting a long story short, but you need to develop new mathematics to solve that question. It becomes quite interesting. That's a paper, if any of you is interested in the proceedings of the National Academy of Science. But basically, you develop this kind of network science approach, and what you find is super exciting that in New York, you can take everybody to destination when they need to be there, exactly when they need to be there, give or take a couple of minutes, with just 40% less cars than what we have today. So you could cut by 40% the fleet and still take everybody to destination. And then if you look at self-driving, I was telling you before about self-driving gets a three-dimensional model of the city, like this one, and then navigates it. If you take self-driving, and then self-driving allows you to share the car much better, because the car can give a lift in the morning, and then instead of staying there, it can give a lift to somebody else in your family, or anybody else in the city. So basically what you're doing, you are blurring private and public transportation. And if you combine the ability of sharing the ride, which is what I showed you before, and as I said before, this is something that Uber saw, and then we started collaborating with Uber, and kind of Uber Pool does exactly this, allows people to do this, and it's 50% of trips by Uber in San Francisco now are Uber Pool about sharing. So if you combine that sharing the ride with sharing the car, potentially you could get to a city tomorrow where you can take everybody to destination when they need to be there with 80% less cars than what we have today. So imagine how different Trento, New York, Singapore or London would be if we were to remove 8 cars out of 10. So just to give you a little glimpse about some of the work we're doing in mobility, and there's many other things I could tell you about, but there's no time. So any other one, I think we have time for 2 more comments or questions. Ideas, yes?
If you can explain to work on the project of the living system with
the project of the what?
The living system, the cell that produces energy.
The algae you want to say? Okay. The algae system? Yeah, absolutely. So for the algae, our idea was, what you want to do many times in architecture, on a facade or on a canopy, is actually be able to filter what goes outside. So you want to filter, you want to protect, you want to be able to modulate the amount of light and so on. And so we've been doing quite a few experiments with that. The wackiest type of canopy we developed is a canopy actually that's an insect farm, where we put a lot of insects, and the insects actually modify their pattern based on heat. So you get like a living facade when all these insects, when it gets too hot, all the insects actually go out and then they will shadow you. So you get kind of dynamic way of shadowing things. We've tested quite a few of them. And algae is another way to do it, because algae allows you can have more or less water being circulated, and then you absorb sun and produce energy. So the point is that you're doing 2 things, which again you want to do is, one is to filter between the outside and the inside, and at the same time be able, if possible, to get a system that generates enough energy so that it can perpetuate itself, so that you don't need to use energy to control it, but it does it with a zero energy cost. Yeah, so say it, and then we'll get one more, and then we stop it. Sorry?
The algae produces energy.
Yeah, the algae produces energy. I'll take this and answer this together with the next one. If there's the next one, anybody who has a hand or is going to say a comment or yes. What?
As we have all this information, let's take for example the information from the Catholic University.
Yeah.
As architect, urban planner, how our project can be improved by all this information coming from indirectly from the citizen to make a better project?
Okay, let me say, okay, so first of all, the first one about the energy, yes, if you use algae, you can extract the algae and use it in order to produce energy in different ways. But algae is like, you have photosynthesis, and so you can then have organic matter that you can use in order to turn it into energy in different shapes. You can even turn it into food if you wanted, and then people could eat some of it. Going to your point, I really think it depends. I think, I must say that your view of design is a bit narrow-minded. I think we all need to think about design in a much broader sense. And the way we need to think about design, I think, is at the very root of what design is. Now, both Albert Einstein and Herbert Simon. Herbert Simon was a great sociologist. He got the Nobel Prize, was in the past century. Both of them were asked once, what's the difference between design and science? And both of them gave the same answer. And the answer was, if you look at science, science is looking at how the world is. Design is how the world could be. So design is about us, how we can see the potential of how we can transform things. Now, I think we all need to go down to that. Most of you are architects. You think about design is how you can transform the world outside yourself. But I think we need to do it in a very different way than how people try to do it in the 20th century. In the 20th century, the idea was that actually in design, you had a solution. Think about Le Corbusier. He did huge disasters, and he thought he had this solution to fix something and to implement it. Now, today, I think we have to think about that in a different way. Is how we can do design is a way to explore the potential of our cities, the potential of the present, how we can use design in order to propose how society and things could evolve. And then that will promote the discussion. If you're interested, we did some writing on this, we call it future crafting. You might be interested also in a great book written by Tony Dunn and Fiona Rabi from the Royal College of Art called Speculative Design. But the idea is design can actually prompt a speculation. Design can actually help us to explore different universes. And then as a society we can talk about it. And I think that's really what we should all do, think about design as a way to look at the potential inherent in the present, so that together we can decide how we can build our future. Thanks.
Thank you, Carlo. We all need a second moon.